Hey guys, it's Christina here. Welcome back to the channel. I thought today I would do an experiment, which is essentially to feed my family totally carnivore for the day and see how much does it actually cost, because out of America there has been some stats that have come out that said the average American spends $11 on groceries and $9 on takeaway food a day. So that's averaging it out how much they spend. So that's $20 a day on food for the average American, not the average American family, but the average American. So I thought, how much does it cost to be carnivore for my family of 9? So let's see how we go today. Come along and join the experiment. Okay, so I got all of this for $94.57. Now, we probably won't eat all of this. Some of this will carry over, but I'll show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so yesterday I went to the supermarket. You would have seen a film of that. I brought these things. They cost about $95 altogether. So I've got drumsticks here. There's 9 in each packet. Sorry, filming. Need to watch what I'm doing. So there's 9 in each packet. I've got these eggs. There are 18 eggs in each box. Now, there's multiple reasons why I got these eggs. One of which was that Coles at the moment where I am has a bar on how many eggs you can buy. So you can only buy two packets, whether it's 2 small 6 packets or 2 large packets like this. So I got the big ones. Also too, they were out of a whole heap of other stock. So usually I go and look for what is the cheapest price if I'm trying to shop for budget. What is the cheapest priced per 100 grams? So this was the cheapest price per 100 grams. It also gave me enough for my family. I did get some seasoning and spices. I got this mince, which is, where are we? $11 a kilo, $11.90 a kilo, so basically $12 a kilo. Bacon, sour cream, cheese. My kids have already gotten into this cheese. Brr. They knew I was doing this experiment. Anyway, butter. So my intention is, when I originally picked this up, I thought, yeah, that'll be a day's worth of food. But as I've been thinking about it and thinking about, you know, cost-wise, if I was trying to stretch this, what would I do? And actually, I don't think my family would actually eat all of this food in one day. So what I'm going to do is actually cut everything in half and see if I can make this do 2 days. And that will be the interesting part for me in the experiment, is to actually see, can I fill up my family for 2 days with this food? And so I'll report back as we go as to how that happens. Now, I've got over here a big stock of, this is broth that has been cooked from like previous chickens that we've actually had. So basically I'm going to cut everything in half and then I'm going to portion it out into meals. Now for breakfast, my intention is to cut the bacon in half and then to use another half of that for making omelets. So I'm going to use 1 carton of these eggs, or probably not all the carton of eggs, but at least some of those eggs to make omelets with some cheese, some bacon. I have some onions already. I do have some garlic as well that I'm going to use. I will probably use the garlic powder, and I'm going to try out this seasoning. And I'm going to make some omelets. Now, I might put some sour cream on those, or I might keep that just for the soup. With this, I was planning on making meatballs. So I was going to cut it in half with meatballs. What I'm going to do is, even though I do have a little bit more to replace what my kids used, because they bought cheese for their recipe last night, so then they used my cheese. I don't know why they did that. It's annoying. Anyway, so I'm going to cut this in what would be half, and then use half of that cheese on the omelets, and the other half of the cheese I'm going to use to go with meatballs. I maybe use, I'm thinking that's what I'll do, and I might boil up the rest of these eggs and have those served with meatballs. Now, I have funny children who don't really like chicken on the bone. So what I was thinking was to use my broth, that I'm actually going to take one, or I might actually I might cook it all up and then actually just portion it into half. But actually to use the chicken legs, cook them in the broth, and then I will take the chicken off the bones. I'll keep the bones for more broth, so they definitely won't go to waste, but take the chicken meat off of the bones for them. I'm going to use some of this spice mix. Now, this is not a perfect thing, right? You know, what I'm doing here is not perfect. Ideally, we would want to have the best eggs and the best meat, but I'm being realistic. Like, what can an average family actually, you know, afford and have access to? Because you can't, like, we've been traveling around Australia, some places you don't have access to fresh produce and so on. So I'm going to use some of this to flavor it and make it a Thai inspired soup with the sour cream. I'm also probably going to use some more eggs, so I may actually go into that second pack of eggs. I will definitely report on that. And make some egg noodles. So all I'm really going to do is like put eggs in a tray and cook them very lightly and low until they actually are thin and cooked through. Then I'm going to slice them into noodles and put that into the soup. So that's what my plan is for today. We're going to start with omelets. We'll then have meatballs, and then we will have soup if people are still hungry. So I will report on how this goes. Okay, so the first thing I'm making is omelets. I have halved my bacon and then halved that again. So I've got half for this recipe and half for another recipe in the day. I have an onion there. I have my 18 eggs. I won't use all of those. I have halved my butter. And again, I'm not going to be using all of that. That's what I'm going to aim to use for the day. And I have quartered my cheese. So I've halved my cheese and then I've halved that again because I want the cheese for another piece of the recipe or another meal later in the day. So there we go. I'm going to get this all chopped up. I'm going to fry off my bacon and my onions to start with, and then I'm going to use the fat from that as well as some butter to actually cook our omelets in, and use some of these herbs and spices to make it tasty. The eggs have got happy faces on them until I crack them. Oh, happy! It's happy to become an omelette. I'm just using up some more of my butter for the day to just lubricate this pan a little bit more. And we're going to get our omelettes on. So normally what I do is like flip the pancake in, or flip the omelette into half, and then I halve that, because like that's more than enough for one of my children and myself. So yeah, that's our omelette. So there's the omelette ready to go. One of the kids will come and take that in a second. I've called out. They're not hungry because no one's running. Hey guys, so we just got through doing breakfast and I'm about to prep dinner and lunch now. I don't like cooking all day long. Like, it's just not my vibe. So what I really like to do is actually do all my cooking in the morning and get it all done with, and then it's basically kind of eat for the rest of the day. So I have some work to do too, so just makes it easier if I can get it all prepped and all done, and then we just eat. So I won't cook the hamburgers right now, but I will make them so that they're all flat and they're ready to go and all of that type of stuff, and then they've just got to be put in the air fryer. I'm just going to put the chicken drumsticks into the broth along with the flavor thing that I have. Again, not perfect. You got the herbs yourself, definitely do it yourself, but these are tasty little things that can kind of help you make life a little bit easier in the kitchen. So here I go, getting all that stuff done and seeing how we can, how we go budget wise. So I will say that I did end up having to use all 16 of those eggs so that there was enough for everyone to feel satisfied and full. So 18 eggs, sorry, I did use all of those 18 eggs. So I'm going to count that in my budget when I do a budget at the end. Basically just dropping them into our soup. I'm just going to heat that up throughout the day. Cook those legs and then they will be ready for dinner tonight. It'll depend on how I feel as to whether I take them off the bone or not. But cooking them with the bones in is actually going to implant more flavour actually into our broth anyway. So there we go. There are 18 drumsticks in there. Alright, so I've got my little flavour pasty thing there. Again, it's not 100% perfect. If I look at some of the ingredients, there's a little bit of sugar and stuff in there. I'm going to ignore that essentially. If I had these herbs, I could certainly make it myself, but you know, we're mums. We have busy lives and we have busy things to do. So sometimes taking some of these shortcuts can be helpful. All right, that's done. I'm putting that in there. I'm also going to chop up some of my bacon as well. So I want some of that bacon for our patties, but I will put some of that into our soup as well. Okay, so I've got my chicken drumsticks in there. I've got my bacon in there. I have broth that I've cooked and the herbs that I've put in there as well. So that's going to cook down throughout the day. It's on heat now. I will cook some egg noodles. Well, I'll make some egg noodles and then that will go in there as well. And then now I'm just getting my mince ready. Now, because the kids are eating with me and they're a bit more fussy than I am, normally what I actually do is just like mush this into actual patties and then eat it. But, you know, because I'm doing it with them, I'm adding some onion and garlic, and I'm going to add some of the mingle seasoning stuff as well. So I'm just going to mix that in, shape it into patties, and then put it in the fridge to cook for later. Okay, so the patties are all squished, ready to go. Lunch is probably a couple of hours, so that's all ready to go. I'm actually going to cook that with a little bit of bacon, some cheese on top, and I may or may not boil some eggs to go with it. We'll just see. If there's one patty per person, so that's why I might do the eggs. We'll just see. And our soup's there. Okay, so this is essentially finished cooking in the sense that the chicken in here is cooked now. While I'm prepping lunch, I actually think I will take the chicken drumsticks out and actually take them off their bones and things like that, just because I know my kids are going to be fussy, and I wish they would not be, because I actually really like it on the bone, but I'm going to take it off so that it's off for them, and then I will probably make the egg noodles while I'm in here as well. But let's get the lunch cooked. So the first thing I'm doing is just frying off some bacon in the air fryer to make that nice and crispy to go along with our burgers. I'm also going to boil some eggs so that we've got that along with it too. And yeah, stay tuned. Hey guys, I'm going to do a little commercial break in here. No, not really. But what I am going to do is let you know that the egg noodles didn't turn out. So I have kind of removed them from the video because I made them and then they didn't turn out. So they didn't actually end up making it into the end budget, and they didn't end up making it into the soup. So future Christina telling previous Christina, don't bother with the egg noodles. Or at least try and use something different to make the egg noodles in. All right, back to the show. Eggs are boiling to go along with our hamburgers. Time to get the patties in. Okay, so there they are in, ready to be air fried. And off they go. They're probably going to take about 15 minutes to cook. For some reason, one of the kids put a hole in the cheese. They might have done this last night. But now we've got decorative cheese, I guess, where somebody's put a hole in it. Okay, not quite ready to be turned over. Okay, so I've pulled the chicken drumsticks out. I'm going to pull the meat off of there and pop that back into our soup. We will also be adding some sour cream to that soup upon serving. So that will actually add in a little bit of extra fat along with some butter too. Okay, so there it is, our meatballs with some cheese and some eggs and some bacon. Now the real key element to making sure that people are full is to make sure there's plenty of fat. So there's fat in the yolks, there's fat in the meat, there's fat in the bacon, there's fat in the butter, and there's some fat in the cheese. Now I have some extra eggs over here, so if they're hungry, they'll come back and grab some more eggs. But there's lunch, off we go. Hey guys, it's Christina here. So the day has been a day and I have to get off to work. And so my egg noodles didn't turn out. So what I'm doing instead is basically just dishing up the soup as it is. And I still have some eggs, some boiled eggs left over. Hey husband. I have some boiled eggs left over. I'm just going to pop those in there with it. Plenty of chicken in here. There's plenty of broth in here. It is got bacon in here as well. It's packed full. It does have some onions in here too. So basically I'm dishing myself up some food before I go and do my evening call. Can they see the bowl bin?
I can see the bowl.
I love when my husband is the photographer. He's not so fabulous at it. All right, so basically I'm just going to put some boiled eggs just in the top there, and that will be dinner. So that's the end of the day of eating. Carnivore for my family of 9. Now, I'm running off to work and I will edit this probably tomorrow. When I'm editing, I'm going to sit down and do an actual cost analysis for you, write down all of the different things and how much it cost and all of that type of stuff. So stay tuned, that's coming. Okay. Last reminder, I am actually putting some butter in there and some sour cream. Just reminding myself of that. Okay, so sour cream going in as well. Remember, the fat is the important element to keep everybody feeling full and satisfied. Hey everyone, so I have done the numbers. It's the next day, by the way. So I have done the numbers and gone through everything that I purchased yesterday or the day before yesterday, cooked yesterday and we ate, what's left over, broken it down into all of those things. So I'm going to take you through those numbers. But before I do that, I want to say that my goal was to, one, make sure that everyone was full, and had had enough to actually eat for the entirety of the day. Now, I will say that normally I wouldn't have done 3 meals. Normally I would do 2 meals, and the breakfast meal, for example, would have been my big bulky meal. I would have done more in that meal, or more in the dinner meal. So usually what happens is that we'll have a big breakfast, and then people aren't really super hungry until probably 4 o'clock. And at that point, I might start to actually make dinner, and we'll have an early dinner at, say, 5-ish. Like, that would be the norm when we're all eating carnivore, and so on. So there's that parameter. Now, there are probably a couple of little numbers here that I have missed because I had an onion already. I had some flavor stuff at home already. I didn't count salt and pepper. So those will alter the numbers slightly. But essentially, it cost, for yesterday's meals, it cost $4.92 a meal. Sorry. $4.92 per person, Australian dollars, and that works out to be $1.64 per meal per person for yesterday's food. Now, I will say I have been working all this morning. I stopped at 1-ish, and that's when I've had my first meal today. So I personally was satisfied enough with everything that I ate yesterday that I was able to fast until I was able to do an 18-hour fast. Not that I intended to do an 18-hour fast, but I slept late and I jumped onto my work calls straight away. And then I've just been go until then. But I actually wasn't really hungry at that point either. So, yeah, I was satisfied enough with yesterday's food that I was able to do an 18-hour fast after that. So let me take you through my numbers and the math. Okay, so yeah, I brought two dozen eggs, or actually it wasn't a dozen, it was 18 eggs. I brought 2 lots of 18 eggs. They were $7.95 each, so that works out to be $44 cents per egg. So I've broken it down into some of those things so that I could work out, roughly how much was it actually for each meal. The bacon I brought was $10.25. We used half of that, so that was $5.13. I kind of rounded that up. Cheese, we used half of that as well, so I divided that into how much we used. Chicken drumsticks, we used both of those in the actual soup, and then I've just divided the soup by how many meals we've gotten out of it. So we've got 3 meals out of that soup. So there may even be more, but I've been generous in my assumptions. So mincemeat was $21.28. I divided that into half of what we actually ate yesterday. Sour cream, $5.55. We ate half of that. Onion powder, now I've been generous and just broken these down into 4 servings. We'll definitely get more than 4 servings out of it, but just for the purposes of this demonstration, I've broken those numbers down into 4. Butter, $6.40, and I broke that down into half, which is what we actually ate yesterday, which was half of that butter. Now, at this point, I also want to say that the foods that I picked were not necessarily the most optimal healthy foods that were out there. So I got like the Coles brand butter, for example, and it was salted because that's what they had, and that was what was the cheapest available. I got not the free range chicken, I got the normal Coles chicken, and again, was what they had, but I was also trying to go from a budget perspective. Now, for example, when I am doing this with my clients, I actually feel like you have a little bit more wiggle room with your products not being perfect than if you're eating a lot of plant matter in your diet. So just from the detoxification point of view, I think we've got a little bit more wiggle room. The other thing that I want to say is, no matter what, like if someone was going to take this and then compare that to the standard Australian diet, they're going to be comparing it against things like Maggi 2-minute noodles, and cheap pastas that you can get for $1.90 or for 99 cents, etc., etc. And so what their comparison to eat cheaper is not going to be a healthier version than what I selected out of the products that were actually there. So I just want to add that into the mix. Now, the other element, of course, we want to do the best that we can by supporting, good farming techniques and local butchers and all of that type of stuff. I'm also realistic. I have 7 children, and I'm sure most of you out there also have some budgeting constrictions at times as well. So my goal when it comes to doing my own personal shopping is to pick the best that I can when I can, and do the best with available resources that I have. So sometimes I have more money, I will go to the local butcher. There's a beautiful one down here where they actually have their own farm, and they take their own animals from their farm and put those in their butcher shop. So you can buy directly from the farmer at the butcher shop. Now that's not always the case, but when I have the money to do that, that's actually how I want to spend my money. So I highly encourage you to do that too, but you just do the best you can with what you have available to you at this moment in time. You can always do better. I can always go and pick better quality products from this, but as a base beat, it's a good example of how much it all can cost. Okay, so back to the math. Breakfast, essentially, I ended up having to use 18 of those eggs to make sure that everyone was full and satisfied for the morning. I used a quarter of my bacon, I used a quarter of my cheese, and then some herbs. I didn't count the butter in this because I've just added the butter to like the soup, the dinner for the day, right? So that worked out to be $15.46 for breakfast. Then lunch, we had half of the mincemeat, we had some herbs to go with that, we had some cheese, and we had some eggs out on the side. We also had a little bit of bacon, but that's counted in kind of with the soup. So that was $21.15. Now, dinner was chicken soup. We had bacon, so that was $2.56 chicken. I've put in both lots of chicken in there. Then some herbs, then sour cream. We used half of that sour cream, and butter we used again, like the other half of the, so that was the half of the block of butter that we used for the entire day. Now, because we've got 3 meals out of that, I've broken that down and divided it into 3, which was approximately $7.68 for that dish. Now, putting that all together, 15, 21, 7, equaled out to be $44.29 for the day, and dividing that by 9 people equaled $4.92, and then per meal that equaled $1.64 per meal per person per day. So there is a rough guide there of approximately how much it cost me to feed my family of 9, 100% ish, like depending on your version of carnivore, right? So a standard carnivore diet for the day, 9 people, that's how much it costs. Now, remember the prompt that started me on this was seeing on Sean Baker's Instagram page, and I think I saw it on his Twitter as well, where he put up how much, he might have even done it on his YouTube shoot, but he put up how much the average American spends on food a day. So it worked out to be like $11 on groceries and $9 on takeaway. That's the average American. Now, of course, there's going to be people who are under that because they're below the poverty line and so on. And of course, there's going to be people that spend way more than that. But the average American spends $20 a day on food. That's one person. One person. So for my family, we spent, from a carnivore perspective, $5 a day per person on the food, right? $5 a day per person on the food. Now, the other thing to remember and factor into that is that food is a lot cheaper in the US than it is in Australia, and the dollar of the US is worth more. So, just a quick rough translation, this is like really dirty, it's not like accurate in any way, shape or form. That's approximately $40 Australian for those that are Aussie and watching at home, and if you're US, like that's a lot to us. So we've got a big difference in our food prices. Some things are going to be more, some things are going to be less, but from a Australian point of view, it was $1.64 a day. Now, like I said, normally I would have bulked up one of those meals. So I wouldn't have done 3 meals, I would have done 2 meals, and the kids would have been able to come back and eat more boiled eggs, etc., etc. They weren't hungry. Nobody was rousing me for food or anything like that. They were all actually quite satisfied and got on with their day, and that was the end of it. Like, there was no real drama in what they ate yesterday. But I wanted to do 3 meals for those people who were looking at 3 meals. Now, of course, I could always add more food to that. I could have added more boiled eggs. I could have added more bacon. I could have changed it around, did different dishes, and definitely could have spent more money. but I thought, hey, let's see what I can do on, you know, showing that it doesn't have to be super expensive. What can you do? All right. I hope you have the most amazing day ever. If you enjoy this content, please remember to like and subscribe and share in the comments that you want to see more of this type of stuff, or if there's anything else you would actually really like to see me do, make sure that you share that with me so that I can work on putting that together for you. All right, bye for now. Have the most amazing day ever.